Here we are inside the Benimar Tessoro 487. If we firstly come to the main control panel just here, we can turn the 12 volt on by firstly pressing this button and then this one. Once we've done this, we can then turn the water pump on. Water pump needs to be on so we can get water out of the taps, flush the toilet and fill the boiler if it's been drained. After that, we then have the awning light on and off. Beneath we then have condition of leisure battery and then condition of vehicle battery. How much water is in the fresh tank. When the waste tank is approaching the point that it basically needs to be emptied, you will get a red flashing light just here to let you know. When the water level drops from the last amber into the red, this amber light here will flash to let you know you need to be thinking about filling your fresh water tank up. And if either of the batteries are getting a little bit low, again you will get flashing lights. This last button here just controls the illumination of the control panel. So we can dim it right the way down and then brighten it all the way back up again. This is just letting us know that we have mains electricity connected to the van, and when we start the engine a light will illuminate here to let you know the alternator is charging both batteries. Beside the main control panel we then have the controls for the Truma heating and hot water. At the moment it's just displaying the time and letting us know that we have main supply connected. If I now press this button, these icons will then appear, and as I rotate they will begin to flash. So if we start with the first icon just here, this one is for your heating. All we now do is click, heating is off. All we now do is rotate and pick whatever temperature we would like it to be inside the motorhome, right the way up to a rather toasty 30 degrees. So let's say we want it to be 22 degrees in here. Click on it to store it in and you'll see a little flame has appeared above just here. That flame just represents the heating system and it's just letting you know that you've set a parameter. So now basically when the heating turns on, the flame will begin to flash, and once it achieves the desired temperature it will then go back to a solid state until it cools down again. The thermostat is just here. It may be too warm in here, so at the moment I'm now going to turn it right up to 30 degrees and then hopefully, there we go, we can get the heating to fire up. After that we then have hot water. So again, if I now click, hot water is off. All we now do is rotate the button and we can heat hot water in eco mode, which will give us a temperature of about 40 degrees. We can heat it in hot, which will give us a temperature of about 60 degrees. And we can also perform a boost on the boiler. The boost was mainly designed for if there's going to be more than one person having a shower in quick succession of each other. If you do perform the boost and the heating's running, it will turn the heating off as it needs to take that power to perform. If I now drop it back down to eco, you'll now see the heating will turn back on and you'll now see the hot water is also on as well. And again, once the temperature is achieved, it will go to a solid state. Next, we have power source. And at the moment, we are using main supply using 2 kilowatts, indicated by the 2 little lightning strikes here. And when I click on it, you'll see it says EL2. If I rotate, I can lower the power consumption to 1 kilowatt if we're on a low amp site to stop ourselves from tripping. We can run in dual fuel, so we can run on a mixture of gas and mains at 2. Dual fuel is extremely handy, especially in the winter months if you want to get up to temperature nice and quickly. It will only use gas as it is required. And then we have dual fuel and 1 kilowatt. And then if we have no main supply, we can solely run on the gas. Next we have the circulation fan for the heating. So currently we can either run the fan in eco or high. If I now turn off hot water and the heating, and we now return to it. We can also use the fan to vent the motorhome, so on a warm day we can just circulate the air if we want to. Click on it, it then has a fan speed of 1 to 10, and then the fan will just come on and push the air around the motorhome. If we now turn it back off again, we can then drop to the lower icons, and this first one here is for a basic timer. So if we now click on that, we can set a start time, and then when we would like it to end. Once we've done all that, we then just literally set what we would like on within that time period. Once we've done all that, timer on or off. If I now set the timer icon will come up there, and then within that time period those settings would apply. And as you can see, as that timer is set between what time it is on the clock on here at the moment, it's now come into operation. If I now click back on it again, we can then turn the timer back off again, and when we go back to it, we can then re-alter it. Next we have clock set, and then lastly we have settings. So within the settings menu we have offset, which is just for that thermostat just there. If you don't think it's quite correct, we can just slightly adjust it. Temperature, just if you prefer it displayed in Celsius or Fahrenheit. Brightness of the screen, 12 or 24 hour clock. Language, index, which is more for the technicians, it just lets them know what software this particular control panel is running. And then lastly, full factory reset. From time to time, these units will throw up error codes. It will usually be basic stuff. So if you're trying to run the system on main supply but you don't have mains connected to the van, it's going to throw up an error code. Same if you're trying to run it on gas and again you don't have gas turned on or the bottle's depleted, etc. What will happen is a warning triangle will appear when my finger is just here, and if you then click on it, it will display the error code. 9 times out of 10, as long as you rectify the problem, so flip a trip switch, etc., the error code will just disappear. If it hasn't, it's always then advisable to go back to the error code and just double click on it, and it will then sometimes say no error and then disappear. If you still have no luck, if you've still got anything actually running along the top here, just turn them off. If that still does not solve the problem, I always then suggest the good old turn it off and turn it back on again. The way we turn this completely off is just by holding the button in until it says off. If when you turn it back on again you still then have the error code, I always then suggest the factory reset, because sometimes these can just glitch and they just need to be hard reset. Beside me just here we have 12 volt supply, main supply, and your aerial fly lead connection point. TV holder just here, and then light switches just here. If we now go underneath this bench seat just here, we will find the Truma boiler. So located just here, tucked down here we have the drain valve for the boiler itself. So to drain down for winterization, all we need to do is twist this blue diamond here, and when we twist it, a blue button will pop out at the base of the unit down here. Do make sure that the water pump is turned off, and then all I need to do to close it back up again is twist it and then come down to the bottom and push the blue button back in again, and it will then reseal itself back up again. And then as long as we've got water in the fresh water tank, as soon as we turn the water pump on, it will begin filling the boiler back up again. These drain valves are automatic, so if the temperature within this area drops below 3 or 4 degrees, the blue button will automatically pop out at the base of the unit, and the boiler will then drop all its water itself to protect itself from frost damage. If this happens, all you need to do to reset it is push the blue button back in again. If it will not stay in, it's just too cold in the van, and you will need to turn your heating on to generate some heat to allow it to reset. Another reason why the blue button will not stay in is if the blue diamond is not in the position it is now. Next, we have the location of the consumer unit. So we have the mains trip switches just here, and the 12-volt fuses just here. If you are going to blow a 12-volt fuse, the main one you will blow is one of these 20-amp fuses, which is the fuse for the drop-down bed. If you have too much stuff on that bed and you raise it, if the motor goes under too much stress, it will blow the fuse. So then you will need to replace it to make it work again. Also in here we just have the regulator, etc. for the solar panel. We do not need to do anything with the solar. It will just smart charge both leisure and vehicle batteries as required. Tucked up the top here we have the digital amplifier for the television aerial on the roof, on and off on the side here, and then control the boost just on this dial just here. And then also tucked up here we have the Truma iNet box. So if you want to control your heating and your hot water via the Truma app through either a smartphone or a tablet, etc., what you need to do is download the Truma app onto that device, make sure the Bluetooth is turned on, and then launch it. Once you've launched, you will see a button that needs to be pressed which says remote control. If you then press that, you then just need to follow the on-screen instructions. It will firstly ask you to come to this box and press the Bluetooth button. It will then send the Bluetooth signal out, and you will then be able to connect up. Once you're fully connected, you will be able to control your heating and your hot water locally via Bluetooth. What you can also do is add a pay-as-you-go SIM card, which also goes in along the top just here. You can then register it through the app, and then obviously control your heating and your hot water from much further afield. Beneath this we then have the microwave. I do always suggest to remove the contents for travel. Power setting just up the top here, and then timer set just here. Beneath the microwave we have the Thetford fridge freezer, on and off on this button just here. So off and on. This is an automatic model, so as long as you are on A for auto, it will find the best power source it can for you. So because we're hooked up to mains supply at the moment, it's put us onto mains electricity. If I now went outside and basically pulled the mains lead out, it would then automatically attempt to fire itself up onto gas, and as soon as you start the engine of the van, it will then automatically go over to 12-volt maintain to keep itself cold whilst on the move. We can take it out of auto if we want to, just by pressing this button just here. So manually mains, manually 12-volt maintain. We are going to get an error code at the minute because the engine's not running, and manually on to gas. But to be fair, auto is the easiest one to have it on. Temperature control just here. And this button just here turns the unit's anti-condensation jacket on and off. The anti-condensation jacket should be on, especially through the warmer months of the year. It basically stops the fridge from building up condensation behind it, which would then run down the back of it and form a pool of water underneath it. During the winter months, the heated jacket can be turned off. We then have the freezer compartment just here and the fridge beneath. Because this is a large fridge, you will see a secondary travel catch just at the bottom here. And both the fridge and the freezer have venting arms to hold the doors open when you are not basically using it. We have the extractor fan just here, lights, and then fan on and off just here. We have the hob, so we have the one electric hot plate that runs off main supply. Red light comes on to let you know it's in operation. And then everything else is just push, twist, and push the igniter, just like so. Next we have the oven and the grill. So push in to the left for the oven, and then if I push in and go to the right, we will then fire up the grill. Beside, we have the gas isolation taps for the van. They are all in the on position and they can really stay like that. I always say they're more for maintenance. If you do smell gas in the van, it's always best to just go to the source and turn the gas bottle off. Above my head here we have the Omnivent fan. Firstly, we need to wind the roof vent and then once we've then wound it, we then need to turn the unit on the center button. You'll then see we have arrows out for extraction and arrows in for cooling. Variable fan speed just by pressing. And then the blades will stop and then spin in the opposite direction to draw air in. Do make sure that the roof vent is down for travel. We then have the washroom. So we have the basin and then the cassette toilet just here. So the bowl does swivel all around, open to the cassette just down here, and then push to flush just here. Close the cassette back up again. If this has been left open and you try to remove the cassette from the outside, it will not come out. So if you are getting resistance, just make sure that nobody has left the flap open. Level indicator for the cassette just down here. It will rotate round to red when the cassette needs emptying. We then have the shower. Do make sure that the shower screens are clipped back for travel. We then have the wardrobe at the back here. We also have the bag for the travel seat makeup. And then access into the garage. we have the electric drop down bed, all done, just on the button just here. As soon as you let go it will stop. We can have it in the higher position where we attach the ladder, and then we have sitting underneath cargo nets that then can be attached to the ceiling. If we are going to be going right the way to the lowest position, we need to just make sure that the cushions are out of the way and that the lights are turned off. If the lights are left on, there may be a possibility that you scorch your upholstery. If for any reason the bed does malfunction and cannot be wound up or down, it can be done manually. And the widen point is just here. Just remove and you will find a 13mm nut. You are supplied with a winding tool just here. Just attach to the nut and then you can wind the bed up or down. These lights here do have USB charge points just where my finger is here.